My parents sent a group message. We think it's best you step away for now. Aunt Carol responded with a thumbs up. I replied, understood, I'll respect that, and I'll step away from the family fund too. That night, I closed my contributions. At 3:11 a.m., the buzzing started. By sunrise, 89 missed calls. The last voicemail was my dad's, his voice brittle with confusion, fear, maybe even guilt. What happened? The bank flagged everything. Are you okay? Why would you? I texted back one line. I'm honoring your decision. They hadn't yet realized everything that meant. We think it's best you step away for now. That was the message, sent in a group chat. Of all things. My parents, my aunt, even Uncle Ray, who barely speaks unless someone dies, were all there. But this time, no one needed to say anything, the silence said enough. It landed at 7:42 p.m. on a Thursday. I was reheating leftover curry, thinking about a spreadsheet I hadn't finished, when I saw it pop up on my phone. We've discussed it. Megan needs space. We all do. We think it's best if you step away from the family for now. Thumbs up from Aunt Carol, as if that sealed it. No call, no conversation, just a thumb. I stared at it for a full minute before replying. Understood, I'll respect that and step away from the family fund too. I didn't wait for a response. That night, I logged into the joint account I'd been managing quietly for 5 years. The one that covered Mom's insulin, helped Dad refinance the mortgage, paid for Megan's therapy. I removed my auto contributions. Then I shut it all down. At 3:11 a.m., my phone came alive. Buzz after buzz. By morning, 89 missed calls. The final voicemail was from Dad. His voice trembled, half panic, half disbelief. The bank flagged everything. What did you do? I sent one line back. I'm honoring your decision. That was before they understood what that actually meant. To understand why that message cut so deep, you'd have to go back 5 years to Megan's second hospitalization. Dad had called me from a Walgreens parking lot, crying. She's not gonna make it. They won't admit her without insurance. We're tapped out. That night, I emptied my savings, covered it all out of pocket. She stabilized. Everyone called it a miracle. No one ever called me. No reimbursement, no thanks, no one asked how I was doing. Then came Mom's diabetes. Dad's hours got slashed. Megan relapsed, got better, then relapsed again. Each time, they came to me, hushed voices, frantic texts, vague promises. At first, it was small. A few hundred here, just until next month. Then they asked if I could create something more permanent. A family emergency fund. I was 27, single, working finance. It made sense, I told myself. I could afford it. So I did. I set up the fund in my name. I routed payments for prescriptions, therapy, car repairs, even their cell bill when they fell behind. They handed over passwords, logins, balances, not out of trust, but relief. I became the responsible one. Which really meant, the convenient one. I was the firewall between them and collapse. And for a while, I was okay with that. Until Christmas. Megan blew up at me because I said no to buying her new tires. I'd just paid her rent the week before. She told my parents I was making her feel judged. That night, Dad texted. Just try to be a little more understanding. She's in recovery. You don't know how hard that is. Something cracked. Not loudly, not publicly, but definitively. I didn't reply. Instead, I started keeping records. Every dollar I sent. Every excuse they made. Every invoice, every call, every passive-aggressive guilt trip. Not as leverage, yet. But as proof. Proof that I wasn't imagining it. Last month, it all came to a head. Megan messaged the group. Hey, I know money's tight, but can the fund cover a yoga retreat in Arizona? It's for my mental health. $3,200. For yoga. I said nothing. I waited. Dad replied, sounds like something you really need. Let's see what we can do. Mom sent a heart emoji. And that's when it clicked. They didn't just ask for help anymore. They expected it. The fund wasn't support. It was a pipeline. My bank account had become theirs by default. Gratitude had long since evaporated. All that remained was entitlement. The Real trigger came 2 nights before the message. We had our usual family Zoom. More of a group therapy session for Megan than a check-in. I tried to share some good news. I'd just been promoted director at the firm, a major step. Mid-sentence, Dad cut in. Can we circle back to Megan's housing? She's not feeling safe in her current unit. They wanted her moved, better neighborhood, safer. With my help, obviously. I didn't argue, didn't protest. I just said, calm and even. Maybe it's time someone else stepped up. Silence. Cold, tense, offended. 2 days later, the message came. We think it's best you step away for now. And a thumbs up. They thought they were cutting me off. But they were severing the lifeline that had kept their lives stitched together. The fallout began in less than 36 hours. Overdraft alerts. Mom's pharmacy called, her prescription bounced. Then Megan left a voicemail, quiet and shaking with rage. Why would you do this? You knew I needed that payment. By Sunday, the text barrage was relentless. Voice notes from Dad, unraveling in real time. The mortgage bounced. We thought you handled insurance. The car's uninsured. The bank locked our account. Red flags everywhere. You need to fix this. As if I had broken something. As if I hadn't just done exactly what they told me to do. Then came the family Zoom. Set up by cousin Emily, just to talk. The second I joined, I knew. Rectangles of disappointment lined the screen. Mom, lips pressed tight. Dad pacing. Megan in tears. Aunt Carol, smug in pearls, like she was presiding over a trial. Megan went first. Why would you do this to us? You just abandoned us. I replied calmly. You mean after I paid your rent, covered your rehab, and got exiled for saying no to a yoga retreat? That's not fair, she whispered. I snapped. Fair? I've spent 5 years covering your trail like a forensic janitor. Paid your overdrafts, fixed your messes. While you posted quotes about healing and balance. The second I hesitated, you kicked me out of the family chat like I was disposable. Mom finally spoke. We weren't exiling you, we were giving you space. No, I said. You were choosing Megan, again. You just wrapped it in polite language. So I did what you asked. I stepped away. Dad crossed his arms. You didn't have to cancel the fund. I didn't cancel it, I said. I closed it, in my name, with my money, managed by me. That fund wasn't a trust, it was a lifeline I built from scratch. And you mistook it for an entitlement. It was a leash. His face turned red. We trusted you. No, I said. You used me. Then I opened the folder beside me and clicked share screen. A spreadsheet appeared, neatly organized rows of payments, dates, and amounts. Every dollar tracked: rent, medical bills, utility payments, car repairs. Megan's yoga retreat I almost paid for. The overdrafts I quietly patched. The emergency dental work for Aunt Carol. Even the 2 a.m. Uber I ordered so Mom could get to the ER during a panic attack. Wow, Emily whispered. Who even keeps all this? Carol scoffed. Someone who knew. One day, you tried to gaslight him into thinking he imagined it. I said, eyes still on the screen. Then I clicked over to the final tab. It showed a total, $87,421.13. Silence. Dad stepped back from the camera like he'd been struck. You've been keeping tabs on us? Mom asked, voice trembling. No, I said, I've been surviving you. Megan surged toward the camera like a child mid-tantrum. You're just bitter. You've always been bitter because no one claps for you being the good son. You want applause for acting like an adult. No, I said calmly, I want boundaries, and I'm done being your safety net. That's rich, Carol muttered. You think money is everything. No, I said, but it's the only thing you ever came to me for. Then I closed the spreadsheet, met their eyes through the screen, and delivered the final blow. I've already spoken to the bank. All joint authorizations, revoked. My name's no longer attached to any of your accounts. Credit cards, closed. Auto payments, cancelled. Insurance, your responsibility now. You asked me to step away. This is what that looks like. Mom gasped. Dad went pale. Megan looked gut-punched. Emily leaned back, stunned. But I wasn't done. I also spoke to a lawyer. I said, you'll be receiving documents soon. I'm legally dissolving any remaining ties to the family trust that never really existed, just in case anyone decides to borrow my credit again. You're overreacting, Megan shrieked. You're cutting us off. No, I said, I'm protecting myself. I'm not your plan B anymore. Not your fallback. Not your lifeline. Dad sat in silence. Mom wept. Megan stormed off camera, something crashing behind her. Carol reached forward and ended the call. And me? I sat back, heart pounding, hands shaking. But for the first time in a decade, I wasn't afraid of the fallout. Because I had nothing left to lose, except the weight I'd carried for far too long. The silence afterward was almost eerie. For the first time in years, my phone stayed still. No late night "can you cover this real quick" texts. No guilt-laced voicemails. No crying emojis. No passive-aggressive posts from Megan about family that turns its back. Nothing. It was like I'd vanished. At first, I wondered if they finally understood. Maybe they were learning to stand on their own. But I should have known better. Exactly 10 days later, an email arrived. From a burner address. One sentence. "You've ruined everything." Attached were screenshots. Megan's eviction notice. A final warning from the electric company. A denied credit card application, with my name listed as former cosigner. They were unraveling. And people who lean on you too long? They don't fall quietly. They crash, and they blame you for letting go. That same week, Mom showed up at my office. I was mid-meeting. My assistant entered, wide-eyed. "There's a woman in the lobby, says she's your mother, refuses to leave." I stepped out. She stood there, pale, trembling, an envelope clutched in her hands. "I didn't know where else to go," she said, voice brittle. "Your dad's sleeping on the couch. Megan hasn't left her room in days. The landlord says we're out by Friday." I said nothing. So she played her last card. "I raised you," she said, her voice turning sharp. "I gave you life, and this is how you repay us?" I laughed. Not loud. Not cruel. Just hollow, like the air leaking from something deflated. "You gave me life," I said. "Then you spent 30 years convincing me I owed you for it." She flinched. I stepped closer. "I didn't come to you at 22 and say, 'Let me carry your dysfunction. Let me take on your debt. Let me be the one who keeps Megan alive while you enable her. Let me trade my peace for your chaos.'" Still, she said nothing. So I finished. "You want help? Call a social worker. Call a credit counselor. Call the same system you told me people like us were too proud to rely on. Because I'm not your bailout anymore." Then I walked back into my office. I didn't look back. But it wasn't over. A week later, I got a letter. Not an email, a thick envelope from the bank. Inside, a flagged investigation report. Someone had tried to open a business loan using my full name, my social security number, the tax ID linked to the family fund. Only reason it didn't go through? I'd closed the account days before. It triggered an alert. The loan amount? $80,000. The business name? Megan Grace Recovery Services LLC. I froze. There was no LLC. No licenses. No records. Just a fabricated application with forged signatures, one of them matching mine. I called the bank immediately. The fraud rep pulled the file. "The listed cosigners," she said, reading from the system, "are your parents." I didn't respond. I couldn't. If the account hadn't been closed, she added, this would have likely gone through without a hitch. They hadn't just used me. They tried to leave the wreckage in my name. And suddenly, everything clicked. The request for space. The silent exile. The polite severing. It wasn't spontaneous. It was strategic. Step 1. Ease me off the fund, make it sound like a favor. Step 2. Keep my name on everything. Step 3. Take the money and vanish. Let the consequences land on me. When that failed, they rewrote the narrative, cast me as the villain in a drama they'd authored to cover a failed heist. I spent the weekend filing reports, bank, police, IRS. Submitted the forged documents. Wrote an affidavit. Even attached old texts, Megan asking how to start a nonprofit in my name. It took hours, but every keystroke felt like therapy. That night, Megan called, a different number. Crying. I just wanted to say I get it now. I let her talk. She didn't mention the loan. Didn't mention the forgery. Just went on, about how sorry she was, how hard life had been, how we're still family. I asked one question, did you know about the business application? Dead silence. Then, click. The line went dead. I blocked the number. That's when the real shift happened. Not in them, in me. I started sleeping. I stopped checking my bank app every night, afraid someone was siphoning from me in the dark. I went out to dinner with friends and didn't flinch when the check came. Then Uncle Ray called. The outcast. The one they labeled unstable for cutting ties years ago. Found me through LinkedIn. Saw what you did, he said. Heard about the fund, the loan too. I didn't ask how. Ray had always known more than he let on. You're not the first they drained, he added. Just the first who shut the faucet off. And that's when it clicked. This wasn't just about me. This was generational. A long line of people, groomed into silence. Into servitude. Into being the savior while everyone else drowned in denial. They didn't think I was cruel for cutting them off. They thought I was cruel for stopping. Let me tell you something about heroes. Most die broke and exhausted while everyone else claps at their funeral. Not me. I moved cities 2 months later. New job, better team, higher salary, no forwarding address. And one night, in the quiet of my bare new apartment, floor still empty, furniture still arriving, I got a Facebook message. From Tyler. Yeah, that Tyler, Megan's abusive ex. Didn't expect that. It read, "Thank you for helping her. Even when she didn't deserve it. I wasn't the only thing she needed saving from." It stopped me cold. Not because I needed validation, but because, for the first time, someone said it. Said what no one in that family could admit. That I was saving them from themselves. Until I stopped. And when I stopped, the silence that followed? It wasn't guilt. It was freedom. It's been almost a year. 12 months since I closed the fund. Since the group chat exile. Since the 3:11 a.m. panic that became 89 missed calls and a complete financial collapse they never saw coming. Since they tried to open an $80,000 loan using my name and pin the fallout on me. I thought I'd feel empty after walking away. That guilt would sneak in at night, whispering, "They're your family, maybe you overreacted, maybe you could have saved them." But the only thing I feel now? Peace. Not the performative kind. Not the clenched jaw kind you fake during Sunday dinner while someone jokes about you being the responsible one. Real peace. The kind where your phone doesn't buzz with dread. Where your money is yours. Where your boundaries hold. Where you don't apologize for being free. They tried, of course. Mom emailed on Christmas Eve. Said the tree looked emptier this year. Attached a photo, her and Dad in the living room, smiling without their teeth. A performance for the lens. Megan emailed on her birthday in March. A 5-paragraph essay about reclaiming her power. It ended with, "Would you be able to help cover first and last month's rent?" I didn't reply to either. I still check my credit score monthly. It's fine. No surprise accounts. No mystery charges. No fraud alerts. Because now, I own my life. And I protect it, the way I once protected them. But here's the part one didn't expect. Other people started reaching out. Cousins I hadn't heard from in years. Coworkers I barely knew. Even a stranger on Reddit who saw my comment in a finance thread and messaged. "Your story, I think it happened to me too." Turns out, there are a lot of us. The strong ones. The reliable ones. The ones who pay the rent, fix the chaos, hide the panic, carry the weight. And get called cold for asking anything in return. And when we finally say no? The same family that leaned on us, slams the vault shut and changes the story. But eventually, we learn. We learn how to slam the door first. Let me be clear. Walking away from my family was the hardest thing I've ever done. Harder than watching Megan relapse. Harder than deleting Dad from my emergency contacts. Harder than sitting in silence while they called me selfish, bitter, cruel. But it was also the most necessary thing I've ever done. Because staying would have meant slowly killing myself for their comfort. And the final confirmation, the one moment that made everything crystal clear, came just a few weeks ago. I was walking home from a late client meeting. Same route as always. And there, outside the corner bakery, was Aunt Carol. Scarf, pearls, that same smug posture. She saw me, waved like we were old friends. I nearly kept walking. But I stopped. She looked me up and down. "You look well," she said. "I am." A beat passed. Then, completely serious, without irony, she asked, "Would you ever consider setting something up again, for emergencies?" I laughed. Low, from deep in my gut. Then I said, "Steady." I did. "It's called my future." And I walked away. I don't know if they'll ever understand what they lost. Or why I had to go. Maybe they'll rewrite the story. Say I was greedy, unstable, ungrateful. Maybe Megan will write a blog post about toxic siblings and turn it into a podcast. I don't care. Because the truth is simple. I'm not the villain in their story. I'm the one who finally escaped it. And in doing so, I gave myself the one thing they never could. Freedom. Without conditions.